Hey Joe, how's it going?
Not too bad. It's nice that I have more free time again after leaving office to tackle my backlog.
I can imagine. Anything particularly noteworthy as of now?
After ranking the Star Wars films, I was reminded to go through and finally beat Jedi Survivor. Pretty good game and a sick final boss on top of that.
Yeah, that was a banger. Wish it was a little longer though.
Yeah, I understand. I recently started Doki Doki Literature Club. Been hankering for a dating sim, and that's been on my backlog for some time. Those girls look really pretty.
Joe? Do you know anything about that game?
Not particularly, just that it has some pretty girls.
Hey guys.
There he is.
Oh man. That cabinet meeting took longer than expected. Elon and Marco went at it like school children again. It was really funny. I showed them our Star Wars tier list.
We can gossip about it later. It's time to rank Star Fox. We've been mulling over this one for a long time, so let's just do it. What the fuck?
What's up, gamers?
Oh, goddamn it.
Oh, hey Elon, what are you doing here?
I'm here to rank Star Fox games with my fellow base Cunny-Pilled Chad Broskis.
First off, gross.
What does cunny pilled mean?
I'll tell you when you're older. And secondly, this is a president's only voice chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, I thought Donnie was president.
Not really sure about that at this point.
Elon, I know you're upset you weren't on that Signal group chat that was leaked, but for the sake of our national security and reputation, we can't allow you on here after all that happened. We have to be more careful now. We can't risk our White House server getting leaked.
How the hell did he even get in here?
Let's get this epic list going, gamers.
He apparently has a president's role. And this new Meme Master role too. I don't remember that role being here.
That's because it wasn't. Elon, did you have your Doge people hack this server and give you these roles and everything?
No, of course not.
Well, I asked Bill, who is the server owner, and he said he didn't give permission for you to be added. Anyways, I'll take care of this.
Oh, come on, guys. I just want to be included.
Without any more interruptions, let's begin the Star Fox ranking.
Oh boy, I can't wait to start with this absolute classic. This series started off quite strong.
I don't know if I would take things that far. It is a classic, sure,
But it's aged like dog shit. As a novelty, it's kind of cool, but the experience isn't that good when I can physically count the frames on the screen.
Oh, come on, fellas. This game set a new standard when it came to on-rail space shooters. Sure, it didn't quite have the same fluidity or speed as something like Afterburner, but the fact this was a true 3D game with actual polygons on a 16-bit console commands respect and attention. Plus, this game has aged better than it had any right to.
I will admit the fact they got a game like that working in general is very cool, especially its boss scale. That game really showed the power of the Super FX chip and Super Nintendo too.
Joe, if you're going to make Afterburner comparisons, then allow me to point out even that game had a fucking reticle in addition to not having fluidity like a Viewmaster.
You know that isn't fair, Donnie. They designed the game's difficulty balance around those frame rate drops. And there was no way in hell a game pushing tech like that was going to be as fast and fluid as Afterburner.
Good point, Joe. Despite its limitations of the hardware, it is shockingly well designed and balanced around it.
I will give the game mad props for that. It does make the overall experience tolerable, but not enough to save it completely.
Also, the music by Hajime Arasu is fantastic. I'm shocked he never did anything else after this.
That Corneria theme is so perfect at pimping you up.
Yeah, one score is pretty good. One of the best on the system.
I really like the arcade direction they took. Gave the game a shit ton of replayability.
The score system is so shallow and lame. Getting a good score is so easy and pathetic with no real skill depth. Overall, this is a C-tier game.
How could you put a game that has a giant space whale and a slot machine in C-tier, Donnie? I thought you loved casinos.
Ones that are not a seizure risk.
Honestly, Joe, I'm shocked to hear such praise from you on this game, especially since it is the hardest one by far.
No, it isn't. I beat the whole game without a single game over.
Joe, how many routes did you do?
Just the one that's in the game.
Ain't no way.
Joe, there's 2 more routes to do, and they are progressively harder.
Hey, I think the initial route I did was good enough to give me the whole experience.
This is going to be a long list.
No, it fucking... Oh, whatever. Where would you boys rank this one?
Like I said before, this belongs in C for clunky controls tier.
A tier, sure, it's great, but I think this game has been supremely outdone.
I'm leaning more B tier. It's a fantastic effort and technical achievement that plays well at points. But the hardware limitations really set it back for me, especially on the level 3 route, where things get a little too intense for the hardware.
Yeah, the poor fluidity and less than ideal responsiveness did make level 3 a bit much, even for my godlike abilities.
Skill issue.
Shut the fuck up, Sleepy Joe. You didn't even play the other routes.
Wrapping up, sure it started something great, but it has virtually no staying power in the modern era and compared to the rest of the series. One of the worst cases of first game syndrome I've seen, to be honest.
Honestly, Donnie, I agree that it does have really bad first game syndrome. We good with a B then, guys?
I guess
Whatever.
Moving on to 2.
easy S tier, Barry.
I mean, it has some interesting ideas, sure, and is arguably more ambitious than its predecessor. But it's still a bit rough.
Rough is putting it mildly. I went from counting the frames to counting the length of the input lag. But hey, at least the fights are short-lived.
The map strat direction this game takes is phenomenal, adding a new twist to the series and a neat layer of strategy. Plus, the variety is off the charts.
I agree, Joe. Not only they managed to pull off all-range mode, but also allowed you to transform into a walker. Really impressive stuff for the hardware, especially since they managed to have a water stage that you can dip in and out of the water.
And those transitions and cutscenes, too, very cool for the hardware. Plus, it introduced a lot of staples of the series like Star Wolf dogfights, charge shot, and all range. It definitely needs credit for that.
I respect this game for trying something new and introducing all that, but aside from fluidity being worse, this isn't the direction the series should have taken. It strays away from the mostly on rails arcade shooter aspect that I really like about this series. They replace sheer skill with strategy, which is lame.
Typical Donnie. Never wants to use his brain.
At least mine is still functional.
Honestly, I'm not sure about that.
What do you mean?
Never mind. Anyways, I'm not a huge fan of how the game opens up more only on the higher difficulties. Normal is such a pushover. Like fighting a Super Metroid boss.
I agree. It's a shame the game actually starts to get interesting on those difficulties.
I think that was a smart move. Normal's like a good entry point to not overwhelm the player so much initially and give them a good taste of how the game works.
Did you play past normal this time, Joe?
I tried, but those damn ships kept lasering Corneria. Wasn't able to take a single planet on all my tries. Normal is challenging enough, especially since on my normal runs I kept getting my Corneria damage really high.
That explains Afghanistan.
I guess playing Star Fox 2 and trying to strategize, that wasn't such a good idea.
Unfucking believable, Joe. Use War Thunder like a normal person. Worked out for George and myself.
Did it, Barry? Do I need to bring up Benghazi?
Oh yeah, I remember Barry let me have that one. I tried using the command visor for that.
Yeah, and you lost your ice cream privileges for a week because of that.
Guys, I'm getting angry texts from Hillary to shut the fuck up about this, so we should probably move on.
Oh yeah, good idea, Donnie. The real-time elements of this game, I think, are well done for the hardware at least.
Oh, definitely, you really have to strategize what to prioritize and juggle taking planets or destroying ships. It's fantastic.
Yes. On the higher difficulties, you really have to juggle a fair bit and strategize what to prioritize. It can be quite fun, to be honest, that is until you actually partake in those battles.
I really don't understand why they even targeted the Super Nintendo with this. Its ideas and design are actually quite good, but is even more held back by the hardware.
If this was on the N64 instead, it could have been really something.
I understand your points, but like when they did a fantastic job designing this game around the limitations. They were very smart about it.
Joe has a point. Unlike one, the game never really felt frustrating due to the tech limitations. Hitboxes feel really fair and the dogfights play as best as they could. And the walker sections aren't too demanding on combat.
I agree, but it feels a bit too primitive and repetitive. The score system is a bit better than 1, but future entries would perfect it.
The music, too, I think is worth mentioning. Might even be better than 1.
Wouldn't go that far, Barry. One's as iconic.
Honestly, it's good. Wouldn't go nuts about it.
Where should we rank this?
This is an S tier, one of the best in the series.
Once again, this belongs in clunky controls tier, though due to it being more tolerable than one I can live with a B tier.
B tier it is.
Time for Star Trash 64.
God damn it, Joe. Why do you always do this shit?
Amazing how Joe calls the first playable Star Fox game trash.
This game completely overshadows the hard work the people at Argonaut did on Star Fox 2. They canceled a fucking masterpiece only to completely shaft them from this game. It makes me sick. Have a Star Fox discussion without some basic normie putting 64 on a pedestal, challenge impossible. Just people wouldn't know a trooper classic if it Nova bombed them in the face. But no, they're too busy being blinded by nostalgia to understand the truth and crying to the mommies about how other games aren't enough like this one. I'm sick to death of this game. Dominating the limelight in conversation. Oh my God, played this game as a child, so therefore it's good and every game should be exactly like it. Said the millions of other original, uninspired, cock and closed-minded dipshits. F-tier game. The true Star Fox entry on the N64 was Buck Bumble.
That's it. You're calling one of the most beloved N64 games and the best entry trash out of a misguided principle and personal grievance.
Yes, Argonaut was done dirty, and I'm sick of the fandom being complacent in their mistreatment.
Buck Bumble. If we're gonna go that far, then what about Sin and Punishment?
Was that Old or New Testament?
Joe, just what does Buck Bumble have that Star Fox 64 doesn't?
Argonaut.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Did you forget that I'm a Buck Bumble fan, Barry?
Oh yeah, now remember? Must have blocked out the memory of you singing it during my inauguration party.
Anyway, besides Cucumble, Joe's salt-fueled rant isn't entirely wrong, Barry.
Tread carefully, white boy. You don't want a third impeachment, do you?
Okay, look, Joe is completely off in saying this game has no merit. It was the game that got people into this series and set a good standard. But he's not wrong in how it does dominate the discussion and is held on too high a pedestal. Admittedly, I find it quite annoying to constantly hear how 64 is the perfect game that defines someone's childhood and how it had never got a worthy successor. The fandom is a little too obsessed with this game.
Because that's just how it is, Donnie. So many people cherish their time and experience with this game. It's just a fact. Every single element of it comes together so flawlessly and has such a unique and memorable charm to it. No other entry has truly matched this and strayed too far away from why 64 worked so well in the first place.
I won't deny this, but like I said, virtually every aspect of 64 has been outdone by subsequent entries, and I wish the fandom would see this and stop disregarding other entries for not being enough like 64.
Because 64 set the standard, like you said. We can argue all day about how other entries improved on some of 64's qualities, but none of them retained its spirit. No other entry quite came together so perfectly like 64.
I guess that is all subjective, but if I may be fair, I do think the game is good, just not S-tier worthy.
All right, Donnie, I'll bite. Elaborate.
May I get a word in?
No, you've said enough. In fact, since you were keen on muting me last ranking, I might as well do that.
Thank you, Barry. For one, I do feel skill depth is lacking a bit in this entry.
It honestly has enough. It's very easy to pick up and play with no real strings attached. That's what makes this game so perfect. Its level design not only takes full advantage of the NES 64 hardware, but is also incredibly well designed and replayable. Plus, there's a lot you can do with the charge shot and disabling lock-on.
Not wrong, Barry. However, there's very little to the game aside from disabling lock-on. As you start to get good, the game just becomes more of a routine of hitting certain checklists in the levels, rather than scrambling to kill your enemies properly like later entries for score.
Oh, come on. Grinding those gold medals can get quite tough, plus the bosses in this game are just beat.
Once you understand the checklist and are a god gamer, medals just become free.
Are you telling me Area 6's gold medal is free?
They're all free if you have my skill.
Moving on. I love how they unlock more content in the multiplayer, giving you a good incentive to get them.
I agree, Barry. However, as much fun as I did have with it, as stated before, it has been outdone.
For what it is, 64's multiplayer worked perfectly. But yes, it's certainly been outdone. I will give you that one, Donnie.
I also like the pathing in this game. Really does add a sense of replayability and customizable difficulty.
Yes, thank you, Donnie. I'm so glad you appreciate that.
Going back to aspects that have been outdone by other entries, it's definitely all range. Or mid-range, as I like to call it.
Seriously? All Range has a lot of variety to offer here?
No, it doesn't. Most of the segments have you fight a boss or a horde of enemies, which isn't bad, just kind of bland.
What about the dog fights with Star Wolf and Katina and Sector Z?
They're cool, but still suffer from the same issues, and the Star Wolf fights leave little to be desired. Once you've mastered the R-Ring, deleting their health bars becomes literally brain dead, even on Venom 2.
They provide enough without getting too old while also putting up a decent challenge. I think it's perfectly fine for the hardware and still rather accessible for people to still get the hang of it while providing enough challenge for people who want to get good.
I mean, I guess that's fair, but again, future entries would scratch that higher skill expression and depth that I have. Plus, playing this game on OG hardware sucks. That N64 controller is awful.
Bullshit. This game plays amazingly on that control stick.
Yes, the stick is fine. It's the C buttons I have beef with. Shooting while braking or boosting requires you to do claw grip, which I despise.
Skill issue.
Only I get to say that.
Also, Donnie, this game's music is perfect and has by far the biggest footprint in the series. One of the best OSTs out there?
It's fine.
Fuck's sake.
It's good, but the instrumentation can feel a bit off at times.
It's fine the way it is, you egghead. Anyways, can we at least acknowledge how innovative this entry was too?
I'll admit, this game made some good innovations like gold rings, U-turns, loops, and the Landmaster.
Don't forget the Blue Marine.
You mean the vehicle that's in one mission and never seen again? How can I forget that?
Oh, whatever, Donald. I think we've exhausted all we can from this one. There's not really much else to say about it that hasn't already been said.
I agree. I would put this in A.
Well, obviously, being the best one, it should go into S. All right, we should probably unmute Joe.
Honestly, I'd put it in F, so I guess that rounds out to a C tier, right, Barry?
Are you fucking stupid? I'm not putting 64 in C because you are being a big baby over 2 getting canceled.
Why should we even count your opinion, Joe? I bet you never even played this game.
That's what I thought. Honestly, Donnie, since I'm all out of patience, I'm just going to put this in high A.
What fucking bullshit.
Maybe form an actual opinion of the game next time, Joe.
Moving on to 64 3D.
Oh, I rather enjoy this one.
This has to be on purpose.
While I DM Jill to make sure his pills haven't expired or anything, I'd like Joe to enlighten us on what makes 3D so different from 64.
It was made by Q Games, who are ex-Argonaut devs.
But it's literally the same fucking...
Don't waste your breath, Barry. Hey, maybe this could be an opportunity for Joe to give actual opinions on 64.
I guess.
I think this game is pretty good. It's easy to pick up and play. It's got great replayability and level design. And the 3D is fantastic.
I'm sure the easier difficulty made this better for you, Joe.
Yeah, although I remember struggling to get past Andrus.
I still remember the time you barged into the Situation Room having a panic attack about how there's this big scary creature on your 3DS and you were afraid it was going to mug you or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Hey, I did eventually beat him.
Yeah, after I had to calm you down with an ice cream cone. And then you barged in again, shitting your pants at the second phase.
Hey, big brains are scary, okay? Donnie would know.
Hardy har. Anyways, I do like the Andros fight, especially how you can throw a smart bomb in his mouth when he's sucking you off.
I personally can't say I care much for 3D. I prefer the original look and sound. The new instrumentation ranges from not bad to questionable, and the redundant voice work just doesn't hit the same. I respect it, sure, but there's no real reason for me to play it when the original is already perfect.
Nah, Barry, this easily replaces the original. Not only is the button layout acceptable, but it feels better to play while also making tons of improvements like quick commands for U-turns and loops.
Oh yeah, stripping down the multiplayer and removing unlockables with medals was definitely an improvement.
Yeah, but it makes up for it with more gameplay depth.
No Landmaster and on-foot multiplayer, Donnie.
I mean, sure, 3D's multiplayers aren't only, but they really did a great job giving it more depth with added stages and power-ups.
Imagine if they did that, but kept the Landmaster and on foot.
They were all right, kind of lame to be honest.
Bullshit. They were high in variety, a blast to play.
But as Joe stated, 3D makes up for it with more skill depth and stages. Stepping away from multiplayer, the improvements to the single player are fantastic.
They're nice, but not really that needed. Although having a mode that replicates the N64 version was a nice touch and does give it something I can latch onto.
I agree, plus having a score attack mode to replay single missions is very convenient in addition to having new, harder medals. And those medals are awesome.
I agree, but those new medals can be a bit much. How the hell is anyone supposed to get 190 on Corneria? I can barely get 150.
Skill issue.
I'll admit that is pretty cool. But 64 OG has enough for me. It's not offensive in anything except the multiplayer, and it doesn't quite control as well on the circle pad, but at the end of the day, it is still Star Fox 64. S tier for me.
I liked it. I'll do A tier. Doesn't have the same heights as 2 or the Charmer one.
Considering how much of a replacement this is, I'll accept a low S or high A.
We will put it in S tier then.
Works for me.
I could accept that.
Up next is Adventures.
Oh, good, another fantastic entry. Thank God that Nintendo redeemed themselves from the shit show that was Star Fox 64.
Never have I ever heard a more factually wrong statement in my life.
Rich coming from the moron who said Ukraine started the war.
Fuck off. I'm working on lowering the price of eggs.
Let's talk about the game, guys. Adventures is like Zelda, but with Star Fox characters and hot babes.
If you mean a shit show with forced diversity, then you're correct.
Forced diversity?
Bristol. The Star Fox crew never needed any women before. It's no surprise that she ends up trapping herself the whole time.
Are you forgetting about Star Fox 2? And you say I'm senile.
What about it?
Donnie. Star Fox 2 had 2 female pilots.
Then why do you think they didn't come back? Also, this was before the woke ages, so it's okay.
Oh, come on, Dunny. You have to admit Crystal is one foxy dame.
Can we stop objectifying women and move on to the actual game now?
What actual game? It's barely finished, and I've given all my thoughts on the game.
Hey, don't be so harsh, Dunny. Star Fox Temperatures is the only game where I can run around and whack people with a stick and not get arrested.
Anyway, Donnie isn't wrong, Joe. The game really does feel like they just gave up halfway through and stapled the barely finished maps together with cookie-cutter objectives. The game was genuinely fun until the walled city, and they just ran out of content.
It didn't seem unfinished to me. The collision worked and the textures were finished. The ending was epic, too. I loved seeing Andros again.
Joe, remember MGS 5?
What about it?
Oh, like how you called MGS 5 unfinished despite the collision worked, and the textures were finished being applicable to that game, too. Hell, this game is just like the Phantom Pain.
How dare you compare MGS5 to this catastrophe? The Phantom Pain at least had actual skill depth, while Adventures is designed for toddlers. Just look at the orange sections, if you could call them that. They're more basic than Star Fox 1.
But I like Star Fox 1.
There's not even a charge shot here. The R-Ring is so lame in Adventures, it might as well not even be there.
To be honest, I agree. The R-Ring sections are easily the worst part of the gameplay. Hell, if you play the N64 build, they're not even in there.
Well, yeah,
They're
but
so tacked on. The game would have been so much better if they didn't rush to finish the game before the Microsoft buyout. Hell, it might have been better if it just stayed Dinosaur Planet in the first place. At least then we wouldn't have shafted General Scales for a forced Andros revival that nobody asked for.
Holy shit, Joe, you really made him mad.
Jesus Christ, what did I do? All I said was that I liked the game.
Of course you do. After all, you said Prime Pinball was a top-tier game.
I don't understand what is so bad about this game. I mean, it plays just like Zelda. Who doesn't like swinging their stick around and exploring lush worlds?
I don't know, Joe. Maybe someone who was expecting a game with the Star Fox name to be an on-rails space shooter and not have ass controls.
Honestly, the controls are fine, I guess.
Fine. Do you call forced lock-on whenever you breathe near a dinosaur fine? Or how about the lack of camera control despite having a second analog stick? Or how about that stupid snap aim that Rare loves to shove into their games? This was when Halo came out. They should know how to program aim controls into their games.
But I love all of the different staff combos you can do.
Maybe if they serve different and varied functions instead of just looking different.
You're all being so mean to this game. It is a beautiful adventure game with Zelda-like gameplay and fun characters and world building. You're making it sound like it's Metroid 1 or something.
I'll admit the soundtrack is rather good, but that goes without saying, given David Wise is always peaked. I just wish I could say the same about its story, which had so much potential.
But the Star Fox crew is so charming. And it's fun to see them struggling for money, not to mention Falco's involvement being a lovely tie-in to the manga.
I guess, but all that really happens is that Falco randomly shows up in the end and resolves a dispute that never gets brought up in the games. But don't even get me started on Crystal. She was supposed to be the dual main character, and she gets demoted to just another damsel.
As she should be.
But that is why we got the best cutscene in the game when Fox finds Crystal for the first time.
Geez, Joe. Of course you like the scene ogling the pretty lady.
You're in no position to call him out for that.
Yeah, shut it, Trump. It's true love at first sight. It's like a Disney movie.
Yeah, the best part of Sleeping Beauty is when they started a sax solo when Prince Charming met the princess.
Well, if I can give it credit for anything, I guess they introduced Crystal for future games to use her well.
And Tricky.
Who the hell is Tricky again?
Why? He's your cool Dino pal in Adventures. So cute and loves to play fetch.
Oh, that thing, yeah. I just remember smacking him with a stick a bunch.
How could you do that to him? He's a good boy, just like Commander.
I didn't know Tricky liked to attack Secret Service agents.
Only the ones that hit him with a stick first.
Tricky is cool and all, but why are you talking about him like a pet? You do realize he can talk, right?
I don't know, Barry. Maybe he raised Hunter on mushroom treats, too.
Okay, instead of ragging on Hunter again, we should just wrap this up and rank the game.
F tier.
I don't know, Donnie. It does enough right that I think it deserves a C tier.
Am I the only one who understands the complexities of this ambitious cinematic masterpiece?
Yes, Joe, you're stupid.
A tier, no lower.
Last I checked, I'm the one who runs these shows. C tier for Adventures to balance it out. Let it go and move on.
This game isn't stupid. You're stupid.
Time for Assault.
Finally, I've been waiting for this. I love Assault.
Famous last words.
What's that supposed to mean, Barry?
Oh, nothing. Just continue going on about how you love to assault. I mean, love assault.
This game is an easy S tier and blows 64 out of the water.
How is this furry trash S tier, Donnie? It is a complete disservice to the series.
Rich coming from the Adventures cocksucker.
Honestly, Donnie, I'm a tad surprised to hear you advocate for an S tier for this one.
Why? Its skill ceiling and depth exceeds 64 with an improved score system and features like the heat meter, evolving the formula in a really interesting way.
Figured you'd hate the heavier emphasis on the on-foot sections.
That take really puts your sobriety into question. Carfax ass pull is a complete misstep, guys. Mia Tomato must have suffered a brain contortion when making this game.
I guess those on-foot sections were too much for you, Joe?
Where do I even begin? Well, I don't mind the R1 sections very much. On foot is borderline unplayable. And it's like 2/3 of the whole game. What is this Star Fox Battlefront?
What difficulty did you play on?
I swear to God,
Bronze.
a fucking course.
The controls are horrible. And what's worse, there's no options to configure them.
Oh boy.
Why, Jesus Christ, Joe, there's so much wrong with what you just said. First off, why is Adventures being on foot okay, but Assault is wrong for doing it?
Well, Adventures is fun because I can whack dinosaurs with a stick. This is just a lame shooter.
If I may butt in here for a second, I can somewhat understand where Joe is coming from.
Oh,
I'm not too fond of the on-foot sections myself, but I wouldn't call them unplayable.
Barry, they are a logical evolution of the formula, offering way more depth than just the R-ring sections and complement the new score system very well. If anything, it reminds me of a boomer shooter. Not only are levels open, but you have good mobility, which is your main form of defense, and have an incredibly expansive and varied arsenal. They are very tight and well designed.
I can't say I agree with you. On foot feels like too much of a departure from the series, almost like it was meant to be something else entirely. And the levels themselves have problems. They don't offer much in terms of varied objectives and often feel repetitive, and the lack of checkpoints can make them incredibly punishing.
It took me a whole week just to beat Aparoid Homeworld.
Bitch, I beat it on gold first try. And I thought you were mad about on foot being removed from 64 3D Barry. How is it suddenly a big departure to expand arguably the most popular part of 64's multiplayer? Not to mention that the canned 64 sequel was going to do that anyway. Clearly the series was headed this way. And didn't both of you like Star Fox 2 and the Walker? But moving back to Joe's previous statement, the second thing wrong with it is that you can change the controls to a twin stick scheme.
Damn it. Dunny really grabbed you by the pussy on this one, Joe?
Well, alternative control options would have been nice to know. Wish the game better conveyed to me those options existed.
Moving on to why this game is so goated, they actually made all range fantastic. Aside from it being brilliantly integrated into some of the on-foot missions, they actually have more interesting objectives and are considerably more dense. Orbital Gate Assault is such an outstanding mission.
Yeah, I guess I just wish there was more. In fact, this game only having 10 missions, where 3 of them have on-rail sections, is a crime. And only one all-range exclusive mission.
Yeah, but all the missions are like 2 to 3 times longer than any 64 mission.
Okay, cool, but 64 has more levels and actual routing and pathing. Assault severely lacks content.
It's quality over quantity buried, especially with Mission 10. Easily the best final level of any Star Fox game, and the Aparoid Queen is by far the best final boss in the series.
Whatever. I'll give the game this. It easily has the best narrative and soundtrack in the whole series.
Oh, you mean that greatest hits album with some original songs added? It's fine, I guess.
You uncultured swine. Assault's soundtrack is one of the most powerful and expensive of its era. One of the first video game soundtracks to be predominantly written for and performed by a live orchestra. Every arrangement of a 64 piece has been transformed into something much greater, while also now sounding professional, obviously. The original pieces are just as impressive, especially Space Battleground, and Aparoid Tunnel. Those were some of my favorites. And the boss themes, my God.
I have to admit, Barry's right.
Since when did you care about 64's music?
Equally dramatic, bombastic, and romantic, the soundtrack manages to achieve so many different styles, all with a full orchestra. You can see what I mean when listening to the scoring for Assault's impressive cutscenes.
Honestly, Barry, I don't know what you're talking about. The songs are slow and lack energy that put me to sleep.
Moving on to the story. I liked it a fair bit. I cried when Bucky O'Hare made his courageous sacrifice. I also felt Snoopy was less annoying this time around, now sounding like a boy.
I just wish they committed and actually left Peppy dead. It would have made his sacrifice all the more impactful. Anyways, I really enjoyed this narrative, and the Aparoids offered a threat that's not only fresh for the series, but we're also a much bigger and sinister threat to the Lion system.
Honestly, I never even cared about the story. I just skipped all the cutscenes. Except when Oikani got shot down, that was hilarious.
Shocker. Anyway, some of my favorite moments in the series happen in this story, such as Star Wolf and Star Fox respecting the immense threat of the Aparoids and working together, and when the Aparoids took control of Pigma and General Pepper.
Yeah, I did enjoy those bits too. Pigma Digma catching Ligma and Mateo was a moment I'll never forget. This game's narrative is the only saving grace of this game, sadly.
Can't say I entirely disagree. I also thought they handled Crystal very well. She fit right in with the crew, and I did get a kick out of the sexual tension between her and Fox. It was handled pretty gracefully, just adding a bit of a new dynamic to the team.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that DEI hire, especially since she always gets into trouble every other mission, needing me to bail her out. And don't get me started on I'm protected by all of your warm feelings. I really should get Elon to cut federal funding for Star Fox to end their discriminatory policies. I really like the difficulty options in this game, especially Gold. They offer a really great challenge, and getting the medals in Gold is such an incredible test of skill. I loved it. Gold really makes you appreciate the levels in your toolkit more.
While I appreciate the gesture of difficulty options that make legit changes to the design, not only does it feel like a band-aid solution to the game's lack of content, but Gold difficulty can feel rather overtoned in some levels. Missions 3, 9, and 10 come to mind.
Based on what I played on Bronze, I'd rather eat the toenail clippings from the bottom of a men's ruin wastebasket than touch Aparoid Homeworld on Gold.
Oh yeah, Joe, Aparoid Homeworld on Gold is a pain in the ass.
Maybe going for the medal, sure, but just beating it? Nah. If you take your time and utilize your toolkit, you'll get through it no problem.
Oh yeah, all those hordes of enemies in tight spaces might be no problem for you, but I found it annoying.
Grenades, Barry. Use them. They actually got me through Saria and Homeworld pretty well.
Maybe if I had better control of where my nade was going, they would be useful.
Skill issue. Also, Assault is the first Star Fox game to actually have a good multiplayer.
Oh, fuck you, Donnie, but I'll admit Assault has probably the best multiplayer in the series.
Yeah, it was good. I just wish they focused on the single player as much as the multiplayer.
I agree, Joe. Apparently Assault was intended to be more multiplayer focused initially. However, they hard shifted into a mission-based game with the multiplayer they had planned still intact. All in all, I would put this into B tier. Not the proper successor to 64 like I was hoping, and is hard carried by its story and soundtrack. I just wish On Foot was better handled and the game had more content.
I would put this in D as 2/3 of the game was unplayable for me.
Oh, come on, this is an easy S tier, only held back by On Foot admittedly having somewhat dated controls.
B tier, to even out the difference.
Fucking peasants.
Finally, we're back to peak.
Peak fanfiction slot.
Joe, I don't know how you like this game so much, especially when Prime Hunters gave you crippling arthritis.
Well, Prime Hunters was a complete shit show. This is by far the best game on the DS, and the best entries in the series.
At least Prime Hunters did something you couldn't already do on a Super Nintendo controller and gave you the option to not use the touch screen. There's nothing you can do in Command you can't do in the Super Nintendo games except flipping and U-turning, and they still limited themselves to a dumb gimmick.
Kind of reminds me of Other M.
I resent that comparison, Hussein. Stop comparing good games to all this slop.
Well, look, I'll admit that Command is far more guilty of having an arduous control scheme. Other M has similar flaws in its restrictions, though they are different in key ways.
Nothing you two are saying is true at all. Listen here, Jack, Command's gameplay is a great expansion and on the mechanics of Star Fox 2 back on the Super Nintendo. While it shares very similar concepts from Star Fox 2, which is massively welcome, it's actually turn-based as opposed to real-time, which reduces a lot of the juggling and gives you more time to strategize your next moves.
I should have expected your geriatric ass to like this game, Joe. It takes Star Fox 2 and washes away its unique gameplay ideas with gimmicky touch controls and simplified mechanics. And the juggling is the whole reason 2 was interesting, Joe. What the hell is the point of making it a strategy game if the battles had no impact on the strategies you make? In Star Fox 2, if I wanted to try a riskier strategy, I could pull it off with skill by taking less time to kill the enemies, while in Command they have that dumb turn limit, which prevents experimentation.
Honestly, I agree with Donnie. The gameplay is also quite shallow and repetitive. Almost all the missions feel like carbon copies of each other, with virtually no variety here, with mindless objectives reigning supreme throughout this whole game.
Guys, this is no joke. I'm not kidding around here. The DS is a handheld. You really expected a lot of depth and complexity.
The DS runs Mario 64 better than a Nintendo 64, you egghead. I didn't expect a complete regression of the series, though. We went from outstanding all-range from Assault to a mobile port of Star Fox 2. The all-range in this game makes 64 look like Assault with more primitive design and combat than fucking Star Fox 1.
Again, the DS is a handheld. They did a great job designing an on-the-go Star Fox game with bite-sized battles that don't drag out too long.
Only for them to put 64 on a handheld 6 years later.
Also, guys, they'll take on the primitive and shallow gameplay. Command has tons of pilots to play as, each with different stats and abilities.
That is the only thing about this game that is good. Falco is the best pilot in the game and was my main in the multiplayer, which me and my many college buddies played at Mar-a-Lago. At least we did whenever we would overload Prime Hunter servers.
Shocked you guys didn't play Assault instead.
Eric would always hog the game to keep playing Pikmin 2, and boy was he bad at it. All I would hear were the screaming deaths of his Pikmin. Sad.
Oh, come on, Donnie, with all the characters in the game, sure you have something to say about someone that isn't Falco.
Oh yeah, Slippy. Well, I didn't care for him as a pilot. They turned him into a Giga Chad. Especially in his ending where they reveal he doesn't just have sex, he fucks. He also reminds me of Elon, a very smart inventor who spreads his bigly smart seed around to populate the earth with the next generation of smart people.
Yeah, just like Elon. Loyal to his single wife until death do them part. Speaking of that, can we talk about how abhorrent this game is narrative? The plot is very thin in Command, focusing on the rise of a new threat, the Angler Army. The problem I have with this is down to the awful execution. The villains are completely vapid and unexplored, while the cutscenes focus entirely on character drama.
What makes the character drama bad, unlike Assault?
I'm glad you asked. The plot has the gall to provide serious friction between the cast without spending any time building. Fox, Falco, Slippy, Crystal, you name it, they all act incredibly irrational. It's hard to explain, but it feels like every dramatic moment is unearned because the game has no meat on its bones.
So everything just kind of happens and the game expects you to be invested in these really crazy turns and betrayals? Honestly, I can see that being the case with Command. It reminds me of those dumb soap operas Melania watches.
And the fact that one of the paths being Pigma back and has you fight him. What kind of toads were they licking to come up with that disaster? In fact, this whole game feels like a giant middle finger to everything Assault did well narratively. Kind of like the rise of Shit Walker.
So don't be dissing on my stories, fellas. Command evokes the good old days of watching the young and the restless.
Oh God, it was extremely exhausting when he constantly tried to put that on in the Situation Room. I remember when he tried switching the channel when the Bin Laden assassination was happening.
I don't understand why you hate this so much. It just combines the dramatic story of Assault with the branching paths of 64. Then you want them to bring that back.
Not like this. 64's branching paths weren't nearly as narrative focused, nor did they lock you out of them on your first playthrough. This just feels like a choose-your-own-adventure game.
I don't know, I was ignoring most of the dialogue on screen, but I remember liking the part where Dash took over Venom a lot. Best ending in the game?
I like the Slippy one the most. It was very sweet and wholesome.
And sweaty. Wish we saw Amanda's knockers, though.
What the fuck?
Didn't take you for a scaly, Donnie.
Should we tell him?
Let's not get into that. I guess while on the topic of endings, the Fox and Crystal ending was the least egregious. It mostly undid the shitty opening of the game, which gets it bonus points.
Can we put this in S tier already?
Oh, just give it a rest, Joe. We all know the real reason you like this game is just because Dylan Cuthbert worked on it.
Damn, Joe, are you like obsessed with Argonaut devs or something? Besides Adventures, the only games we talked about that you liked were the ones they made.
I just like their game design is all.
Does D tier sound fair to you, Donnie?
Like music to my ears?
What the hell, guys? You can't just leave me out of this.
All right, Joe. I'll admit we've been giving you a hard enough time this ranking.
Rightfully so.
Yes, well, we can at least bump it to see, I suppose. And I'll buy you a double chocolate chip ice cream cone.
Oh boy, but please get the low fat. Jill has been on my case about my health.
I won't tell Jill if you don't tell Michelle. Anyway, C tier for Command.
Going from one awesome game to another. You guys can't tell me you think poorly on guard, right?
Well, it's a halfway decent tower defense game. I'll give you that.
Not just decent, Barry. Its mechanics are very strong. I like how the multi-camera setup uses the gamepad screen in a clever way.
I'll admit that's true. Donnie, your thoughts on guard?
What a bunch of bullshit. I mean, why would I waste more time talking about guard when I already wasted hours of my life playing it?
We get it, Donnie. Everything is explosive and dramatic to you. You didn't have to finish the game if you hated it that much.
I was holding on to some hope it would turn into an actual Star Fox game. Instead, we got this lame Five Nights at Freddy's Wii U port.
Unlike that game, this one doesn't run up my plumbing bill. Also, the main character is named Grippy, so wouldn't it be Five Nights at Grippy's?
Sounds like a vacation at Epstein Island.
Fucking gross.
Do you even have any real criticisms of this game? Or are you going to just bitch and moan some more about it like you did with Command?
Joe, you're the last person allowed to say that.
If this was an actual Star Fox game, maybe I would have more to say.
It's in the title, Donnie.
All right, children, can we at least try to discuss this game critically? What did we think of this game's mechanics?
Basic. Bloons Tower Defense has more depth than that was a Flash game.
The guard eloquently expands the amount of tasks a player has to manage at once, not to mention the game scales its difficulty very well with increased enemy attacks and strategies.
The core design of Star Fox Guard is notably strong and consistent, which I did appreciate a lot as I got to grips with the surveillance mechanics. This is really not the kind of game I'd expect from Platinum, but it's well made for what it is, which is somewhat impressive.
I don't care. Guard is still just a lame tech demo at its heart with no soul or identity whatsoever.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Guard has an incredible amount of personality, but I think you're seriously overreacting, Orange Baby.
Yeah, you tell him.
A Crimea River. Anyway, I don't have much else to say. D-tier installment, not really worth playing.
I'd say a C tier is more fair, given the competent design and fun that can be had with the two screens used throughout the missions. But this is a Star Fox list at the end of the day, and this doesn't have the core elements of the IP, the same issue Adventures has. But unlike Adventures, it's actually a finished video game and has elements worth praising. So really it balances out to about the same level as Rare's game.
Such an L take. I'd argue an A, but I won't be able to change your mind.
We'll stick with C to balance out the range of opinions. C for Guard just feels right to me.
Finally, I've been waiting to get to the peak of the series. Zero is the best game in the series, bar none. It has the greatest skill depth in the series, the best pathing, best music, best all range, and the best medals. Easiest S tier since Metroid Dread.
And unlike Dread, this game is just a dumb retread of 64 without any of its charm that forces dumb gimmicks on you that no one likes.
I thought Assault was basically unplayable. But Star Fox 0 out of 10 takes the cake. At least Assault had some missions that were good, but this entire game forces dumb and cumbersome mechanics. and gimmicks on you and make this game unplayable.
Okay, look, I'll be fair. Zero's not terrible, just horribly misguided, and a rare L for Platinum Games. I really have no idea why they just retold the story from 64 again, but this time with portals.
Yeah, I was hoping to see a new sexy redesign of Crystal. When I heard Platinum was making this, I was so excited for that. But no, she's not even in it.
My God, you NPCs are acting like those brain-dead members of the fandom. Virtually everything you two said was wrong. So wrong that I just, for the third fucking time, sacrificed more of my nuggies on the White House walls. There is even sweet and sour sauce dripping down the walls.
Sorry, Donnie. Zero isn't what people want.
Are you fucking kidding me? Everyone bitched about Assault deviating from 64 too much. And here we have a game that takes 64's formula, expands upon it, and offers us something that feels fresh, while adding a buttload of new stuff that is amazing on top of this, yet you guys are still complaining.
We didn't ask for a fucking retreat, Donnie.
Okay, setting aside the story then, which I couldn't give two shits about, what else about this game is oh so wrong?
It's not just the story. Almost everything is a retreat. The enemies, the bosses, the planets.
Oh my God, the bosses are awful, folks. The Qual-Rosa is the worst boss fight I've ever fought. Barry had to beat him for me. That EMP shield should be outlawed.
Oh, wait a minute, Barry. Joe mentioned a boss that was completely original to Zero.
Yeah, but it's not very well designed, to be frank.
First off, skill issue. Second off, Joe is backhandedly proving the bosses in this game are mostly original. With only 4 fights, minus the Star Wolf fights from past entries, they all play differently and are very well designed here.
Yeah, man, those bosses were way too hard.
Shouldn't you love this game, Joe? Monarch's Dodora is like an Argonaut staple. It appeared in both SNES games and Command. The only other game is this one. Actually, this game also has the Walker, retro R-ing, and other SNES features.
Well, it doesn't have their signature charm.
Anyway, I think you're proving my point, Dottie. This is just more stuff Zero took from other games instead of making something new. Why should I play this instead of 64?
Why should you play 64 instead of the original games? 64 is just as much of a retread as this is, especially if you care about the story like you do.
64 is way more of an improvement to SNES than Zero is to 64. I mean, if I wanted to juggle 2 screens and use motion controls to aim instead of a perfectly designed game, yeah, Zero is my game. While we're on that topic, the forced use of motion controls and juggling 2 screens in general was such a horrible decision to justify the gamepad.
It felt like texting and driving, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I respect the idea of free aim, but I didn't appreciate how the game forces it on us.
Oh Lord, are you two really testing my sobriety? First off, you can switch between first and third person views by hitting the minus button at will.
Wait, you can do that. Why didn't the game tell me?
Pepe literally said in the tutorial, this is literally Assault's controls menu all over again.
Besides not being able to read simple instructions, my problem is more that juggling the free aim while moving so quickly through a Star Fox level is stressful and not in a fun way.
What? Is Zero too fast for you, Barry? I didn't think you were as much of a wet blanket as Sleepy Joe over here.
Well, whatever. Sector Omega was the breaking point for me. The R-ring speed and insane hazards are absolutely horrifying.
Pussy, Sector Omega was a brilliant stage that pushed the on-rails gameplay forward. Unbelievable opportunities every second you fly forward, points here to get, enemies to snipe there, and all with insane adrenaline shooting through your body. Peak. Not that you two slowpokes would get it.
Despite what my former VP says, I actually appreciate Sector Omega's speed gimmick and variety because the level feels like a climactic onslaught, even if the controls get a bit in the way. Admittedly, one of the best parts of Zero is another brand new addition. I really enjoyed those gyroing missions.
Of course you would enjoy the gyroing missions, Mr. Drone.
Oh, we both know you got a higher score on that level than I did.
By my Catholic God, I don't know what was worse, Zonus or Sector Omega. Was Star Fox really in need of a forced stealth mission?
Here we go.
It's even harder to not get caught than the Zero mission stealth section. I mean, they point the spotlight right at the terminals you need to use. What am I supposed to do about that?
What the fuck is wrong with your demented ass?
This is literally the 3rd fucking time you've complained about a stealth section in a game. You're a Kojima fan, for fuck's sake.
Well, I need to remind you, Barry, that he called Snake Eater mid. Also, Joe, you were told to use the direct eye with the monitors to turn off the lights that are blocking your progress. It's not rocket science.
Or you can drop the nearby explosives on them.
How the hell did you even break out of the Sharplot prison in Adventures You Geriatric? God, now you have me defending the worst level and vehicle in this otherwise fantastic game. What the hell?
It wouldn't be so bad if the thing wasn't so slow, and if it could properly defend itself. But hey, it's better than just giving me a stun pistol. Anyway, what do you guys think about the enemy design in Zero?
So we're just going to ignore and move on from your skill issue? Whatever the enemies are peaked?
They are because they are ripped from 64. Too bad they didn't expand on them much.
Wrong. Didn't anyone ever tell you that it's not about what you have, but how you use it?
Not following.
The enemies are placed in far more diverse and hard-to-reach patterns that really push you to get good at fast and accurate shooting and proper charge shot usage while weaving from target to target and between obstacles.
I never took you for liking diversity in your games, Donald.
Shut it, Joe. I'm not letting the woke mob ruin this word. What I'm saying is that Zero requires you to juggle more for your high scores than any other game, really making them feel much more earned than previous entries.
Sounds more to me like Zero has bloated levels that need to solve a problem it introduces with its new controls.
Shove it up your ass, Hussein. You just have more control, and as such, it requires more from you. Features like the free aim and the double kills make it so you have to do so much in a fraction of a second to get the best scores. So much so that I'm not sure the game even has a skill ceiling anymore.
First diversity and now the glass ceiling. Donnie, maybe you've gone woke.
You shut your trap, you DEI high.
Oh, hey, time to chill out, Donnie.
I thought you guys could take good old jabs between guys. Anyway, I really don't think this is as groundbreaking as you say it is. 64 and even Assault already have similar mechanics that don't trigger Joe's arthritis. What new thing does this game do that isn't just a consequence of its awkward controls?
The Strider enemies are a genius at new inclusion to Zero, which challenge players to shoot weak spots that are on top of or beneath the enemy, demanding precision in the best of ways.
Literally the worst enemy in the whole series. They just won't die.
I'm sorry, Joe, but even you should be able to handle them. You don't even need to move while you aim at them. And they're never in high stress areas.
I'm just glad Platinum added a good accessibility feature and an invincibility power-up.
What?
What's he talking about, Donnie?
Hell if I know. Never heard of such a thing.
Same here. Oh, holy shit. Apparently it spawns after 3 or so game overs.
Yeah, it really helped me out on Corneria.
Return to Corneria?
No, the first Corneria. You guys still there? Did the call drop?
I don't even know what to say anymore.
I'm running out of ways to be disappointed in you, Joe.
Well, at least he wouldn't hire somebody to play the game for him so he could pretend to be good at the game.
Don't talk about my actual VP that way.
Wait, Vance plays video games.
Yeah, he's the best Iron Man in the world in Marvel Rivals.
Smooth save Donald. Now, if we're done slipping the mask, I'd like to add that the Peppy level was quite juvenile and a slap in the face. It's a meme level for the sake of it and furthers nothing.
I don't know how you're such a tight ass after constantly getting pegged by Michelle. Since when was it a meme for a series to reference its own inside joke? Besides, the level is fun and playing as Peppy was completely worth it and is one of the most skillful gold medals in the game.
You know just as well as I do that barrel roll line is popular entirely through internet culture. I would like to think the series is above that. Besides, the level is just a bunch of ships in an open area that you shoot. Not much else really happens.
Oh, give the soapbox a rest, Barry. This is already more complex than all of the all-range levels in 64 combined.
Oh, pegging it a tight ass. I get it now.
Want a brownie, Joe?
Oh boy, do I.
I'm really starting to wonder why I picked you.
This is why nobody invites you to the game nights, Joe.
That's not true. Multiplayer is the only way I was able to beat Star Fox Zillow.
If you could even call it that. Co-op isn't exactly a worthy substitute.
Oh, come on, Barry. Everyone loved it when Double Dash did it. Besides, if they weren't going to match the quality of Assault's battle mode, they might as well not have one.
Seriously? Star Fox is known for multiplayer battle modes. Like 64 is famous for the house party battle nights.
Can we not argue about this again? You both already threw a fit about this half a ranking ago.
Fine. I'd at least agree that the multiplayer in Assault is better than Zero. Like most things in Assault. There's no beating Assault soundtrack, for one.
Sorry, Hussein, but Zero's soundtrack clears Assault's. I've already said that greatest hits album of 64 with some originality puts me to sleep.
I can't believe a president of the United States would claim that the Tokyo New City Orchestra would put them to sleep. These aren't ballads, Donnie. These are bombastic and emotional renditions of classic themes in Assault. I will admit that Zero does the same in a sense, but without the impressive instrumentation or complexity.
Well, Zero's soundtrack was largely composed by the same person who scored the wonderful 101 at Platinum Games. But I'll admit that Zero's soundtrack doesn't live up to that soundtrack despite the similar instrument samples.
So you admit that Zero's isn't that good?
Clearly, you need to have your hearing tested. I said that the wonderful 101 soundtrack is better, but Assault's is still worse than both.
How dare you?
It literally has the best Corneria and Star Wolf theme in the series. And Sector Alpha, Beta, and Fortuna are easily goated.
I don't know, guys. I just think Star Fox Nez is groovy.
Joe, we're talking about Zero, remember? Actually, I think we should wrap this up.
Wrap up. We haven't even talked about Zero's perfect structure, the awesome new bosses like the Gigarilla, deep mechanics like charge shot curving, and not to mention the best landmaster in the series, all-range mission.
Nobody cares. We've been debating this for 10 fucking minutes now, so we know Donnie would put this in S. What about you, Joe?
Well, obviously this should go in F tier.
I don't know. For all of its problems, it isn't complete garbage. Something that rips off 64 this much has to have at least some of its quality, right? I think it's more of a CTR game.
What are those sounds?
Well, that's just Donnie throwing nuggies on his keyboard.
Shouldn't we unmute him? He is a part of this ranking.
Fine, but only if he can control himself.
This is going into S tier. Don't you dare let Stinky Joe ruin this placement.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. It is going in C tier, and that is final. It is literally the average of our ranks. What are you gonna do, huh?
I'm going to go expose you on truth.
Complain on Truth Social.
Get wrecked, creamsicle.
I will quietly slump in my chair in disgust.
Well, guys, I think we've actually completed another ranking. I kind of expected the Star Fox series to be a dramatic debate, but I couldn't have even predicted this.
Of course it was going to be dramatic. The Star Fox series died the day Miyamoto decided gargling his own piss was more important than game design integrity.
Joe, do you even know what Star Fox is?
What the flying fuck, Joseph?
Don't you see, Donnie? The only thing Joe ever cared about with this franchise Argonaut at Q Games.
My God, Joe, do you want to inhale Dylan Cuthbert's cock or something?
Is he offering? Does it have bird flu? Can we get Command 2? Or Buck Bumble 2? Oh, maybe Crystal can come back.
I think I need to jump off a cliff.
Oh, speaking of which, I recently made a cover of the Buck Bumble theme. Here, I'll play
I
it.
think we're okay, Joe.
What about now is time to rock with the biggity buck bumble. What about now is time to rock with the biggity buck bumble. Bumble. Bum to the mouth to the bum to the base. Bum to the mouth to the bumble.
I think it's time I head out. I have like 30 messages from Elon, and I should make sure he's not being all suicidal again.
Good idea. See ya.
Bum to the mouth to the bum to the base. Bum to the mouth to the bumble. Bump to the mood to the mood to the mood mood. Bump to the base of the base a base. Bump to the mood to the mood to the mood. Bump to the base of the base a base.
Hey, where did you guys go? Did the call drop?